Si comes tienes que lavar tu plato, Firulais. Anda, enjuágalo bien. No me gruñas. A ver, con la esponja eso. Y enjuaga bien que luego deja todo jabonoso. Eso así, muy bien, aunque de malas.
Welcome to the motherfucking lady. We're covering today's top boxing news.
Okay, and now it's time for our weekend recap. We're going to kick it off with the Zuffa boxing show that we're going to rate as a package, as a whole.
In its totality.
On a scale of 1 to 10, in terms of entertainment value, I'd give it somewhere in between a 6 and a 7. Not bad, but not great either. My expectations were not high for what was the Zuffa Boxing inaugural show. Rome wasn't built in a day, so I didn't expect them to pull out all the stops in what was their very first card. Managed to catch Cashflow Diaz's fight with Guillermo Gutierrez, Misael Olivas versus Austin Deonda.
Not bad. Those were good little fights.
I think the best fight on the entire card was Julian Hammerhands Rodriguez versus Kane Sandoval. That was the standout fight of the entire card, the most entertaining, the one that delivered the most action. You may remember Julian because he used to box under the Top Rank banner, went away for a while.
Now he's back under the Zuffa banner.
Julian Rodriguez looked a bit undersized in what was his welterweight contest with Kane Sandoval, who was very fleshy around the midsection, noticeably bigger than Julian. Looked like there was a lot more on his punches than Julian's punches, but Julian did a good job of staying in the fight and battling throughout. Had the most success when he started to go to Kane's midsection, targeting his body. Kane was able to take the head punches just fine, but the body shots seemed to really take the steam out of him.
Julian didn't really start to go there until well into the fight, approaching the end of it, but he was having some success. This is a fighter who's hovered just north of 140 pounds, though not really having the physical dimensions of a 147-pounder. Doesn't have the height or the length of a welterweight. Very short arms. I get the sense that maybe Julian would be better off just shedding the extra pounds and fighting at 140, because I don't get the impression he's really cut out for 147.
Able to secure a unanimous decision against Kane Sandoval in what was a hard-fought fight and his Zuffa boxing debut, though not a fight you can read all that much into because it's not your traditional boxing match. It's not towards a WBC, a WBA, WBO, or IBF title. Because he won, you get the impression that Zuffa will use him again on one of their shows, though towards what? I'm not sure, and against who? It's unclear. But so far, so good. Now, in the main event, we saw Callum Walsh against seasoned veteran Carlos Ocampo, and that fight was the disappointment of the night. Veteran boxing scribe Dan Rafael didn't hesitate to let his feelings be known. He thought it was boring.
Little play on words there. ZZZ Zuffa's main event,
where Callum Walsh had won every round except when Ocampo got the cheap shot knockdown in a boring fight. So what was so boring about it? Well, when you see Carlos Ocampo, you immediately recall his losses to Errol Spence Jr. and Tim Kazoo, and how it didn't take those fighters very long to dispatch him, to get rid of him. So that when you see Callum Walsh landing on him, and landing cleanly, seemingly hard punches, and he's still standing there, and not only that, he's doing a bit of showboating. He's still in the fight, or at least he thinks he's still in the fight.
It gets boring, because this is not the kind of guy you expect to go the distance. You're waiting for Callum Walsh to close the show, and close the show strong, but he doesn't. He does win the fight, winning most of the rounds, seldom ever in any kind of trouble.
Moving and punching and getting off his combinations at times, landing clean backhands on the button, but Carlos is able to take them, able to endure, which communicates that Callum...
no power.
This guy's not big on power. He can't be if Carlos Ocampo is able to take that many of your punches. So the main event of the inaugural Zuffa card was somewhat anticlimactic and took away from the entertainment value of every fight before it. The saving graces, this is their first show after all. Anybody being overly critical about it, I get the impression, was just waiting for something negative to say. You can't wait to start taking shots at them.
But they're just getting started.
What is supposed to be Zuffa Boxing's second official card will likely deliver more more entertainment value because that one features Rayo Valenzuela, Boachuk versus Butaev,
Another Tom Loeffler fighter.
Vazdik versus Kalajdzic, more familiar faces that we're accustomed to seeing. Though rating their inaugural show, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give it something in between a 6 and a 7, 7 being very generous. It felt like a pro box show with a better budget.
C+. If the main event would have been a little better, maybe I would have given it a B-.
I'm not overly critical. It was entertaining in spots. The production value was there. The fights were all right, and I'm giving them the grace that they are just getting started and sorting things out. They need wiggle room to do that, but not bad, not great,
but not terrible. We'll see what else they can deliver in their next upcoming show.
Over to the main event of yesterday's Matchroom show in Las Vegas, the IBF lightweight title fight between the reigning champion Raymond Muratalla and the challenger Andy Cruz, who did not deliver.
I, like a lot of you out there, thought that Andy Cruz would lift the red and gold title from Raymond, and that was not the case in what was a very close and tight fight throughout, a nip and tuck affair.
The reason for it is Raymond Muratalla seemed determined to walk down Andy Cruz, very involved, very switched on, closing the distance and getting to him, letting punches go. Andy Cruz circling away, trying to create space between him and Raymond, letting punches go.
I had it 2-0 in favor of the challenger after 2 rounds, 2-2 after 4.
As Raymond Muratalla was growing into the fight and imposing his will on Andy Cruz, being aggressive.
Where for me, Andy Cruz was not being aggressive enough, involved enough. You often hear it said that you have to take the title from the champion, and when you spend that much time backpedaling, you're not really doing that.
Doesn't feel like it. So I had it 2 rounds to 2 after 4 rounds, 3 rounds to 2 after 5, with the 5th going to Andy Cruz.
3 rounds to 3 after 6, with the 6th round going to the champion, going to Raymond. What you were getting from Raymond was a lot more consistent than what you were getting from Andy. Andy periodically exploding with combinations and getting in with punches, very flashy and very nice, though sporadic.
Not consistent.
Whereas Raymond was consistently coming forward, attempting to walk down Andy Cruz, impose his will, initiate the exchanges.
So I had it 3 rounds to 3 after 6, 4 rounds to 3 after 7, with Andy Cruz picking up the 7th. Very nip and tuck for me. First, you pick up a round, then I pick up a round, then you pick up the next one, I get the one after that. Former WBO lightweight champion Keyshawn Davis was in attendance for the fight, urging Raymond Muratalla to the victory. Though if he wanted to see Andy Cruz beaten so bad, why didn't he just do it himself? He never seemed too keen on taking on his old amateur adversary, likely because in the amateurs, Andy beat him 5 times.
So I guess Keyshawn was hoping that Raymond would succeed where he had already failed numerous times.
And Raymond did just that, consistently coming forward, stepping into his punches, never hanging back, never laxed. This is why I'm not really a fan of the Cuban style of fighting and all of that backpedaling. Instead of working harder to impose your will and back the other guy off, hold the center of the ring, what Cuban fighters more often than not do under pressure is move away. And that's what Andy did for long spells in the fight. You're doing too much moving around.
I think it costed him the fight.
And it was a good fight, by the way. Entertaining. High-level stuff. But in the end, I felt it was either 7-5 in favor of the champion, in favor of Raymond, or a draw. That's the most I could give it.
Either way, I didn't see Andy winning this fight, and I didn't see Andy taking the belt away from the champion, who for me was a lot busier. And if you're the challenger, you don't want that.
You've got that belt around your shoulder. What do you want to do with it next?
I want to fight the biggest fights. I would like the winner of the 140, Shakur and Teal.
Congratulations, Raymond.
Thank you, appreciate it.
You take pride in, there was a lot of talk about his skill, but that you beat him across the board, not just as the bigger puncher, but as the more skilled fighter as well.
Yeah, just goes to show I got just as much skills, if not more. We know he's an Olympic gold medalist, and I'm not, and I got the skills tonight.
You know, we're hearing Eddie's told us that it sounds like you're moving up to 140. Is that true? And is there anybody you want in that division straight away?
I would like the winner of Teal and Shakur next week. I love the winner of that.
If Shakur is going to drop back down to 35, can you make that fight happen at 35, or does it have to happen at 40?
We'll make that happen too. Whoever wins, whatever weight they want to fight at, I'm there.
Would you be willing to go to New York City to watch that fight and call out either one next week?
I'm calling them out now. I'm gonna go out there. I'm telling you right now.
What is that? You know, obviously you just got done winning this fight, but what do you think that fight would look like in the ring? You and Shakur, if he's the one who wins, and I guess Teofimo too, if he's the one that wins.
Yeah, I mean, both those fights are great fights. I think boxing would love that, and that's that. I think it'll be a tremendous fight with either one of them.
It's more or less confirmation of what Robert Garcia was saying ahead of this weekend's fight, that this could be Raymond's last fight at 135 pounds, since he seems focused on fighting the winner of a fight at 140.
Raymond's not a small lightweight, you know. I don't imagine that it's easy for him to get down there and tack on the IBF's rehydration cap.
Moving up to 140 for him would be a breath of fresh air and tack on the added payday of facing the winner of next weekend's big fight. For a WBO title, the WBO, unlike the IBF, they don't put a limit on how much a fighter can rehydrate to the morning of a fight. So for Raymond, it's an ideal situation.
At this time, there is loose talk of Shakur Stevenson potentially returning to the lightweight division if he cannot secure a big fight at super lightweight beyond next weekend's fight.
I don't actually know that he's going to follow up on that he's actually going to do that, because getting down to 135 after having fought at 140 won't be easy for the Newark, New Jersey native. If he did, the fight between him and Raymond would be for 2 alphabet titles instead of just 1, so there is that to consider. That would be a fight of some significance.
What do you think he would prefer, though? Do you think he would prefer to boil back down to 135 or stay put at 140 and fight Raymond there?
Let's be honest, that one is a much more comfortable situation than the other, even if the other features more alphabet titles. For Shakur, staying at 140 and letting Raymond come to you would give you all the leverage in the situation, because you're the bigger name in the fight. You'd be the only guy bringing a belt. He wouldn't be a champion in that situation.
It's a little hard to imagine that Shakur is going to drop back down to 135 when he really doesn't have to.
I thought it was a very, very close fight. You know, I had a bit of an argument with the Cubans because they thought, if we got the decision, I don't think it would have been a bad decision, but hand on heart, thought we lost the last round to probably lose the fight. 7-5 is how I scored it. 8-4, I think maybe I thought 118, 110 is a disgrace. Like, I don't see how you can, because it's so wide.
A lot of people thought it was clearly written.
If you know boxing, you can't possibly score. Like, if you watch the fight, you can't just have a guy coming forward, throwing shots, landing on the gloves and around the back and just scoring all the time. But sometimes in a close round, it was the output of Raymond Muratalla that in my opinion, won in the fight. And he won, I thought he won 5 rounds, but it wasn't enough. But probably needed to do a little bit more in terms of output. But the danger going into this fight was a little bit of experience, and Bozy said that he doesn't think he was, he feels like he had as much experience as Muratalla, but in those professional fights, 23 of them, I thought Muratalla was really impressive tonight. I thought the game plan from Robert Garcia was very good. He looked really strong, like he looked like a big 100, which he is. And Andy's probably, I think he may move to 130 because he makes the weight very, very easily. And when you're up against a big, strong 135-pounder, sometimes that pressure can give you problems.
What did Andy tell you in the locker room?
Just then?
Yeah.
Nothing really. He's obviously devastated, but I think he felt it was a very, very close fight, which it was. But I said to him, and I think on the whole, most people thought that Muratalla edged the fight.
Andy put up a good fight for a guy who's only got 6 professional bouts. That's that amateur experience shining through. He was almost to the finish line. Almost did it.
Almost doesn't count.
We were talking about it during the live stream. As we watched the fight, noticed the height differential, size differential between Raymond Muratalla and Andy, that Raymond's actually quite big for the weight, likely busting at the seams, where Andy is a noticeably small lightweight. Small enough that Eddie Hearn thinks he might drop down to 130 pounds. What he does next is going to be based on what opportunities are available to him here and now, while I think he could get down to 130.
Oh, he would be an interesting addition to that division, where very soon Sugar Muñez will be taking on long-reigning champion Emmanuel Navarrete for for what are their WBO and IBF titles.
O'Shucky Foster still holds the WBC title at that weight, and at that weight very soon, newly crowned WBA champion Jazza Dickens will likely be losing his WBA title to Anthony Kakache in what is a Queensbury Promotions show. Andy would be an interesting addition to that weight class, but I'm not completely convinced he's going to go down there, because what if another opportunity to fight for the red belt presents itself?
And one might. Remember, Raymond is courting the idea of moving up in weight for the winner of Stevenson versus Lopez. If he does that and drops the IBF in a few months' time,
Andy could still be there to pick it up and end up facing the next highest ranked contender. The IBF's ranked standings currently, Floyd Schofield is ranked behind Andy Cruz. It wouldn't be Floyd because he's already in a pole position to fight for the WBA via their ranked standings. Ranked behind Floyd is former champion Mark Magsayo.
Andy could end up fighting him, or he could end up fighting Canada's own Lucas Body, who's ranked behind Mark.
Ranked behind Lucas is America's own Albert Bell. Any one of these guys in these ranked standings right now, Andy Cruz could end up fighting inside the next 12 months for a newly vacated IBF title. So not all hope is lost, and it really isn't the end of the world losing your 7th professional boxing match, because remember, Vasyl Lomachenko lost the 2nd.
Wasn't the end of the world for him, and he, like Andy Cruz, was an Olympic gold medalist and an amateur standout, a fighter who was being fast-tracked in the paid ranks due to his amateur accolades. That's the same thing that happened with Andy, so maybe it was a little bit too soon for Vasyl Lomachenko to have fought somebody like Sidi Salido.
And maybe it was a little bit too soon for Andy Cruz to fight someone like Raymond Muratalla, because he did give him a good fight. It was very much nip and tuck in spots,
but he fell just short of the mark. Maybe if he had a little bit more time in, a few more fights, a few more rounds in the bank, a bit more experience working under pressure, he handled himself well.
It's not like he got beat the fuck up out there or ragdolled. He just got outworked a bit, and it wasn't even by that much. So Andy Cruz can come again, and I think he doesn't drop down to 130. That's not the way it happens. He stays at 135, waits for Raymond to move up and drop the IBF title, at which point he will fight for it again against someone in the IBF's ranked standings.
I'm calling it now. I think that Andy Cruz will come again, and I think he will be a champion in the lightweight division.
The stars have to align for it to happen, but I think they're going to.